Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the Parenting with Love podcast. So today I want to share something that I today I want to talk about guarding our children's hearts. The Bible talks about how we need to guard our heart with all diligence, for out of it comes out the issues of life. So it's the same way we need to help our children guard their hearts, because they are in our care. We're meant to take care of them, nurture them. And I just want to say something. I heard something recently and it just struck me that children don't have the perspective that we have. What do I mean by this? How do we guard our hearts as adults? Of course, it's about being careful of the kind of thoughts we think. For example, if we're always thinking fearful thoughts, it means that we always keep on living in fear. If we're always listening to things that induce fear, like someone was asking me something recently and I was like, you've probably been watching a lot of movies from where I come from, where all those movies always have one or is it that they are making you suspect people? Whatever it is that we take in is going to affect how we look at people. There are some people who don't trust men because they say, oh, they've watched so many movies that have portrayed men as, or they've heard news that has shown men to be terrible, or maybe they've seen, that's the example, or maybe they've even experienced it. The things that we experience, the things that happen to us shapes our view of life. It shapes our worldview. It shapes how we perceive life. It shapes how we interpret things. So the two of us may be looking at the same thing, but we may have different interpretations because we are coming from different places. We have different experiences. We've heard different things. We've been feeding on different things. So, for example, I've had a lot of good examples of love around me, and so it's not hard for me to know that true love exists. So I just need to look around me, or just having people who are honest. So a lot of things affect our worldview. A lot of things affect the things that we do. It's not necessarily those situations themselves. Oftentimes it's our interpretation of the things that happen to us. Now, for our children, they don't have the perspective that we do. Our own perspective, even though may be wrong, oftentimes comes from the things that we've learned, the things we're listening to, we're hearing, things we're saying, things like that. But our children don't have. So this is where I'm going. If I say something to my child, let's say I come home from work and I'm stressed out, I'm tired, and because of that I start saying negative things at my son. Now all my child is hearing is that negative thing I'm saying. He doesn't have the perspective that I have. He doesn't know where I'm coming from. He doesn't know, oh, maybe mommy is tired. He literally takes it on himself. Another example is when children witness their parents fighting, or children who have been exposed to domestic violence. A lot of times they think that they are the ones at fault. They think that, oh, maybe I caused it, or maybe there's something, or they feel disempowered. So we can't control the conclusions our children make. Our children, they are just growing, and so they are seeing what's happening, they are hearing us, and they come up with their own conclusions, which may not be right. And unfortunately, they may grow up with that conclusion and it may affect them in ways that we don't want it to affect them. And I'll use an example. Let me use my example. Recently I was thinking back about my growing up, and I realized that there were a lot of things that I concluded on that were wrong conclusions, but it was because I just looked at things around me and I just came up with. I didn't ask anybody, I didn't ask questions, I didn't ask my dad that, oh, what does this mean, or why did you do this way? Let me give you an example. I'm the only girl and my father was very protective, and because he was very protective of me, I didn't understand, because I was not an adult. Remember, I was a child. So children don't have that thinking, that rational brain. Now that I'm older and I look back, I now know that my father loved me because I was an only girl. He was trying to keep me, because our house was a very open house. I was, anybody could come in. My dad was a pastor, things like that. But I didn't have the perspective of looking at it through the lens of an adult. I was looking at things through the lens of a child, and because of that, I didn't like a lot of the things. I just felt like, oh, why is this happening? Oh, I want to be free, I want to be that, I want to be this. Do you understand? And so I came up with wrong conclusions that maybe they just don't like me. Now I know that I was very loved. In fact, I look back now and I'm like, I actually experienced a lot of love, but I didn't receive the love because I was in a place where I just heard something and I latched onto it, or I experienced something and that became my world. I've had conversations with friends who there's someone that said, oh, she heard her parents say, oh, we wanted a boy. And after that, so it's not that, because sometimes we talk about, oh, we need to show our children love. But the question is, are they receiving it? Because we may be showing all the love and they're not receiving it. The fact that you're around someone showing you things, it doesn't mean they are receiving that thing in their minds, because out of the heart is how we live. That's why we need to be sensitive and understand our children and also observe their behavior. See, that's why everything cannot be about beating, shouting, screaming. In fact, those things should even be out of it, because a lot of times children actually tell us, like, their behavior is telling us what they are thinking, but we're not paying attention. Like, how they are acting, it should tell us that there's something going on. And if we probe for that, maybe if someone had noticed some of the ways in which I was acting and asked me, maybe they will have figured out that I had all those funny thoughts. Although at the end of the day, at some point, I think I wrote a letter to my dad and I told him all the things I thought, But here I'm saying that it's possible to be around, like we know that Judas was around Jesus. He was around Jesus, just like the other disciples, but the devil got to his heart, so we need to be careful that our actions, our words are not the ones giving room for the devil to get to our children's hearts. And then beyond, even apart from us, because we're not the only people in our children's lives. Like, they go to school, teachers are speaking to them. We need to, by God's help, be sensitive and at each point, have conversations with our children and ask God to open up things that are hidden so that we can see what we need to, like, address. It may be that someone said that something to your child in school and that now becomes a bad seed that starts growing. And so even though it's like the weeds growing with, you've sown a good seed, but the soil, if there's something wrong, like the parable of the sower where he threw seeds and, some there were thorns and so they couldn't grow well. Are there thorns? Are there things that, maybe someone said something to your child and then it now internalizes, maybe it now starts feeling less than who it should feel, or it starts feeling like, start having feelings of low self-esteem, all those things. We can detect it from listening more to our children. And because we are kingdom parents, we have the help of the Holy Spirit. We need to pray for our children. That's another way to guard their hearts, in prayers, and also pray that God should reveal things that, and not just be quick to shout or show them that no, this is how we do it. Things like that don't work. Also gain wisdom on how to deal with those issues, like if it's someone saying something in school or if it's something they saw somewhere. We also guard their hearts, through prayers and saying, God, open my eyes to see, and being observant and listening to our children and having conversations. The truth is that the closer we are to our children, the more we have times where we play, where we have fun, our children will feel more open to talk. A lot of times, if my son comes back from school and I say, how was school? He will most likely not even say anything. But when we start playing, he will now start saying, Mommy, and then he starts talking, So we need to create that avenue where our children feel free to open up and talk to us, so that we are watching over their hearts and making sure that there's no, as much as we can. Of course, it's not everything that is in our power, but whatever it is that we can do, we can pray for them, we can intercede for them, we can watch out for them, create avenues for them to feel at home. And this is why we talk about parenting with calm, because anytime we are in that space where we're always being very harsh and hard, it's going to be hard for our children to relax in our presence or to open up, because we are meant to be their safe place. And so if the world is not safe for them and then they come back home and it's also not safe, they probably will not open up and talk and share what they need to share. So I hope this was helpful for someone. Please share your comments and share this video, like it, and subscribe to my channel. So I'll see you next week. And I just want to say that if there's any parenting thing you're going through and you want me to talk about on this podcast, please send me a message. My email is in the description, or you can send me a message on any of my social media platforms. I'll address that in a video. So see you next time. Bye.